All right, everyone, welcome back to the Run the Seam Show, week 5, Kevin.
Welcome back.
Yeah, um, folks, we have some surprises for everyone today. Most of all being, ah, yeah, that's right. We figured it was time to give all you lovely people back home, the ability to see our smiling faces as we're giving you, hopefully, winners for week 5 college ball. Kevin, anything to say as the public is finally getting acquainted with you?
Yeah, I mean, we implemented the confidence interval with the little emojis, but now I think you can really tell what our actual confidence is just
Mm-hmm.
looking at our faces when we say, like when, we could say we're confidence 4, but if you're looking at my face, you'll probably see right through that. So it's a good check on our honesty.
That's fair. And also folks, we got some new recording software here, so I hope that this is the best video that we've made to date. If you guys like this, then make sure to, hit that subscribe button. We enjoy doing this every week and we're doing it out of passion with you guys, okay?
Yes. And props to Tyler for setting this up. And he also made this new title page for us. So a little help from ChatGPT, but beautiful scoreboard. I hope
TM.
to make it a little, I hope to make that scoreboard reflect how I feel as a
Hey,
predictor.
and Kev, you see what the possum and the eagle look like this week?
Pretty swaggy.
Pretty swaggy. You know
Pretty,
why?
pretty ballsy because we went, collected 3 and 12 last week. But
I don't think it was that bad. No, you had 3 and I had 5 or 2. So 5 at least in the win column.
yeah, true.
Okay. Now,
Anyhow, one last thing to plug. We're going to be putting up some YouTube polls for each of the 4 games we're covering, and that way you guys can go and, speak your mind.
definitely. Yeah. All right.
Get to it.
All right. Kev, the biggest news that we got to talk about this week, we've kind of alluded to it's probably going to happen. We said it would probably happen at the end of the season, but Mike Gundy, I'm a man, I'm 40, has been fired from Oklahoma State.
I wear my One American News Network shirt to practice and only get slightly in trouble.
Did he actually do that?
Yeah, that was like in 2020.
Oh,
I
anything
thought
goes in
if I
2020.
did think if Mike Gundy had made it till the end of the weekend, I thought he was going to be fine just because the cadence of UCLA and Virginia Tech
Yep.
coach firing happened on Sunday. I don't know. I thought he was out of the water until you texted me and said,
Yep.
think of who his replacement should be. That's how I learned.
Yeah. And what you just said, Kev, has me thinking, do you think NIL and transfer portal have turned this more like college football in general into more of a like professional cadence when it comes to coaches? I because I feel like 3 firings of major programs and we're not even at week 5.
It's tough to say because at the same time, I mean, UCLA was doing horrible with a great
Right.
transfer quarterback. Virginia Tech has high expectations, and I do think if UCLA and Virginia Tech hadn't happened, Mike Gundy would have been given another week or so. But
Rob, I do agree with that. Yeah.
now there's 3 Power 5 conferences that are going. You think of it as zero-sum game. There's going to be one one coach that gets that is going to be the best out of 3 of
Oh,
them, and
100%.
one of them is going to get him. So the earlier you get in on the action, I guess the best. But who do you think it's gonna be?
Well, Kev, I'm gonna let you go first because I feel like I spent a decent amount more time thinking about some crazy ass answers, and I want to see what you have to say.
Sweet. Yeah, I have none other than UT South Austin, UTSA. Is that what I say? San Antonio.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, UT San Antonio coach Jeff Traylor. He was a stud high school coach in Texas, and he's been doing well for uh, San Antonio.
Okay.
Now, I think if there's one point to back it up with, it's just that if he was a very good high school coach in Texas, that is where Oklahoma State's recruiting blueprint is, the state of Texas.
Oh,
So,
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
and that's all I gotta say.
Especially when they're like close to like the Texarkana, like border, like right
Yeah.
there on the hat. Yeah, no, 100%. Wow, I did not see UTSA coming out. But that's a good one. Man. Wow, deep take. I honestly did not have that one on my list, so kudos.
Thank you, ESPN.
Yeah. His interim head coach, or Oklahoma State's interim head coach, excuse me, is going to be Brian Meacham, the offensive coordinator for the program currently. So my first pick is lazy. Maybe he does a great job and turns it around. they decide to keep it in-house, save some dollar valuation. However, um, the one pick that is also kind of lazy because it's what everyone is pulling for is Nick Saban to come back. I don't think that's likely
I'd be
at this
so
point.
mad.
I would be too. Because I think if Nick Saban came back, you would actually be able to get a couple good seasons out of him. I don't think it would be necessarily like if an Urban Meyer or like with what Belichick's doing, or if even my next pick, who's going to be fired from the NFL, Mike McDaniel, comes down to take the Oklahoma State job.
Do you think
Now,
he'd go from Miami, Florida to Stillwater? I think there is like a
there
culture
is a
fit
Southern
sometimes.
now, and I will also say, anytime we talk about coaching, replacements for college, I'm probably going to say Mike McDaniel with each of them, just because he's going to be leaving, and that's a pretty standard, I think, movement of career. Now, my last one that I think, or no, actually, one more. Alex Golesh. I don't want him to leave USF, but I do think he comes from Josh Heupel with Tennessee as the offensive coordinator. He's played in the SEC before. He's got the experience now under his belt as a head coach in a FBS team. It seems like that's a good fit. Now, if I was putting money on one that I would pick out of all of them, that's the one that I think is most realistic. My crazy, crazy idea. Barry Sanders.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Oklahoma State alumni.
Wow.
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 Oklahoma State alumni could be great for recruiting, knows the game really well. He's not doing anything else right now. I don't know that he's ever expressed interest in coaching, to be completely honest with you, but
Crazy first gig.
it would be a crazy first gig, don't get me wrong. But
All right, let's get to some games. And now into the games. We're gonna only be picking four this week, and that has
Mhm.
nothing to do with how poorly last week went. But we're gonna be starting the count over again. We'll keep track of our cumulative records, but we're also gonna, in case we start to pop off, we're gonna, keep a little track after how badly we did in week 3.
Little vibe check there.
Um, but
Humble ourselves.
start things over just to
That's
see
right.
how it goes.
Yes.
So we got 4 games, incredible games, really. We got LSU traveling to Ole Miss. We got Indiana on the road at Iowa.
Mm.
Then we got Oregon going over Penn State, and then
Mm.
Bama at Georgia. I hope it's a repeat as last year's just incredible game.
Dude, I've been saying it for like since the year started. This Oregon Penn State matchup might be the game of the year, like across the board. I'm not saying that's my confidence in my bet. I'm just saying competition wise and what it means. I'm not going to give too much of it away, but I'm very excited for this one. All right, back to you.
All right, and let's see, Tyler. Go to the next slide. We'll get into our very first pick here.
Of
So,
course.
in our first game, we have Brian, I do declare, Kelly leading his number 4 ranked LSU Tigers into Lane Kiffin's Rebel House of Horrors. Now, a third of the way through his 4th season in the Bayou, Brian Kelly has amassed an impressive 33-11 record. Not to be outdone, Lane Kiffin has led his Ole Miss Rebels to a 33-10 record since the start of the 2022 season. This is a can't miss matchup between two red hot SEC programs. Can Garrett Nussmeier, Mansour Delane, and Coach Kells keep the Tiger train rolling in Oxford, or will the hotty-toddy homecoming king and his explosive offense remind the Tigers that you can't spell L without LSU? Before we get into the nerd numbers and the much bottom lines, Tyler's going to walk us through a late-breaking development in this matchup.
Yeah, Kev, I don't know if we can call this a late breaking one at this point. This is amazing family drama. We get a reality show breaking out in front of us this week. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Lane Kiffin's 20-year-old daughter, Landry Kiffin, announced this week via Instagram, I believe it's what the kids call a soft or hard launch.
This seemed pretty hard to me.
It's a pretty hard launch. Okay. I guess that's what the kids call. It's a hard launch of a relationship with LSU's linebacker, Whit Weeks.
defensive captain, correct?
defensive captain. He is leading their team in sacks, one of their, all-time leaders for the team, and he's going against his new girlfriend's dad. Kev, which one of these gentlemen is playing more of a mind game?
I mean, it's gotta be weeks. Like
You think? Okay.
that is it's gonna be up to Lane Kiffin to show his maturity and his composure, and it'd be a tough day for the Ole Miss faithful if LSU does come into their home with a victory after coming into Lane Kiffin's home with a girlfriend.
And not that look, I hope these two are happy together. I don't think it's like a Travis Kelsey, Taylor Swift just relationship for the money type
My
situation.
wife watches this. Don't say that.
I didn't say that. We can edit this out in post, but we won't. But that being said, I just the fact of the timing, like the same week that they're playing, is weird. And then
Did you attend LSU?
she attends LSU. Yeah, or wait, yeah, yes, she does attend
Fact check
LSU.
us in the comments.
I saw the Instagram pictures. They're both very beautiful people, obviously. I feel like that needs to be said. As you would expect, SEC football player and SEC, yeah,
Debutante.
and debutante, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy situation. That being said, do we want to talk about the actual meat of the game?
I got some numbers to give you.
Give me some numbers, Kev.
I think if LSU is going to see success in this game, they need to get off to a halfway decent start. Against Florida, their first quarter consisted of 3 drives with three and outs. Against Clemson, it was punt, fumble, punt. Hell, against Louisiana Tech, it was interception, missed field goal, then finally a touchdown. So if you don't count LSU's game against Southeast Louisiana last week, they've scored a total of 26 points in the first half, 14 in the first quarter. Ole Miss, on the other hand, has 93 points in the first half.
Yep.
Now, the last piece of hard stats I'll give you is Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons, who I believe will not be playing this week.
Nope.
Even though last week against Tulane, little mind game from Lane Kiffin, he did get his karma, as we just heard. But he warmed up Austin Simmons pre-game to just confuse the Tulane coaching staff.
That's awful. I will go on record of saying I disavow that.
Okay. But anyway, LSU, or sorry, Ole Miss, they threw 2 interceptions in both their first games. It was Austin Simmons. It's not their starter right now, Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, he looks good, man. He's #1 in the SEC for yards per attempt when it comes to yeah.
And so I mean, LSU forced 5 interceptions against Florida, so if there are mistakes, LSU will be looking to capitalize. Tyler.
And no, I mean, you're talking about LSU's defense. You also mentioned him. Let's not forget our boy Mansour Lane, who I know you have a gripe with, but who has shown that in those key situations, he's going to be the guy making those picks and those key plays. However, looking back at Ole Miss's secondary, they also have guys who are ready to take some interceptions, including they got that safety Deshaun Spears, who covers the seam a lot in that general midfield position. He has 2 interceptions already on the year with 70 yards returning. He'll only need to find one of the many attempts that we know that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be trying to throw to get the ball back and maybe make a play on defense. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. Should we get to our picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Before you, okay. Well, anyhow,
Just said get to the picks, so we know
once preface why. So Ole Miss and LSU, they played each other 4 times since Brian Kelly has been at the helm, and each of the 4 games, the home teams won and stormed the field.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be no different this Saturday. I think you also want to take the over because when these two teams play in September over the last 20 years, they average 82.5 combined points.
Now, Kev, before I get to my pick, and because I control the slides, I can actually take my time here. I do want to, you opened up by saying, storming the field. This is another game, kind of like Indiana, Illinois last week, where we're seeing that Vegas and the polling committees just are not lined up. You know what I mean? That's one thing that I'm noticing this season, and it's being pointed out a lot throughout like all the beat writers out there who are claiming that the AP polls that we're getting are just not accurate. So it's interesting development in today's modern college football landscape. But you mentioned how Brian Kelly's record. Let's not forget how long the Magnolia Bowl has been going on. This game's been being played since 1894, and I'm not going to do a whole speech like I did about West Virginia and Pittsburgh, but this is one of the historical matchups, so that's what makes it so beautiful. That being said,
all right, folks, yesterday when we first recorded here, we did have some technical difficulties as far as getting it all done in one shot. I think you guys are going to be pleased with how we ended this out. But to go back here, I'm just going to quickly show that I am going to be taking for this game Ole Miss to cover at home. I think that when you line up these two teams, that Ole Miss is just the better ball team. I think that they have a lot more impressive gameplay on their resume thus far this season because, LSU is ranked number 4, sure, but who have they really beaten outside of Clemson? And who is to say that Clemson should even be considered a good win, if I'm being honest? That being said, I'm going to do that. And while it's against everything I typically do when it comes to these close spread games, I'm going to take the over just because our guy Lane Kiffin here told everybody to, and I got to lean towards the over when I hear that. And to back it up, both these offenses are just going to be slinging rock all game. They got great quarterbacks on both sides of the ball. Trinidad Chambliss is probably one of the better backups to come in this early in a season in recent memory for me. And Garrett Nussmeier is still within pecking distance of that Heisman. I think every week he's slowly burning out a little more, so we'll probably see a good performance from him. But now I want to switch to something special where it's our first remote appearance with me and Kev. We got some more electric games to go over with you guys. All right, Kev, I just got done explaining to the viewers by myself that we got more electric games to cover. I would say this probably isn't the most electrifying, but it is still a low voltage matchup. All right, we got number 11, Indiana, going into Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes. That game is going to be happening 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Saturday. The spread is Indiana's favored by 7.5 points. We got an over-under line of 48.5. Kev, lead us off. What you got on this one?
Man, this is going to be, I believe, Tyler and I licking our wounds after last week. After both of us picked Illinois, I believe, to at least cover. And
Yep.
boy, 63-10. I mean that's Georgia FSU levels there. We'll just some quick notes I had on this one, and I'm sure I'm stealing some of Tyler's, but Fernando
Probably.
Mendoza, while he started the season 36 of 56 for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, which is good. In the last 2 games, he's been 40 for 43, 537 yards, and 10 touchdowns. His brother, Alberto Mendoza, went 9 for 12 for 139 yards and 3 touchdowns against Kennesaw State. So, I mean, actually against Kennesaw State.
Kev, it's still so crazy to me that we got 2 brothers both at QB for this team. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I imagine the plan is for Alberto to take a, like, if you're Indiana, I mean, if you're a freshman at Indiana right now, boy, are things looking like what a great, you come to a basketball school and you get treated to this football royalty. So, the only other thing I'll note, this is kind of on the flip side of the equation because they are going into a stadium where hype goes to die, where scores do not eclipse 30. And when I say that, I mean it. The last time a team broke 30 points in Kinnick Stadium was in 2017. That was when the number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes dropped 55. But that's 8 years of no one breaking 30 points. And it's why I did not take the over or under in this game, because while all things might point to Indiana, being able to cover that spread close to themselves, like being able to cover the over under, you can't bet against voodoo like Kinnick Stadium. Yeah.
Dude, you absolutely cannot. And Kev, I was looking it up while you were talking. The age difference is 3 years between the Mendoza brothers. So to your point,
that's perfect.
That's perfect because he'll get maybe some starts this year if they're really racking up the games, and then they got the good genes. I don't know what the transfer portal does to that. I would imagine the younger one's probably going to be going after a little bit, but that would be my personal pick. Yeah, no, Kev, we're talking about Fernando Mendoza. Guys entered the Heisman race pretty comfortably, I would say, after that performance last week. Looking at the schedule for the Big Ten, you got, obviously, this week, Penn State versus Oregon. Penn State's also going against Ohio State. Then you got Ohio State versus Michigan, with a Michigan that's looking pretty frisky right now, and you never know what can happen in that game. A lot could happen between now and the Big Ten championships. The road is open for this Indiana team, and I think in order for them to do that, they don't have as hard a schedule going forward as the rest of those guys at all. So they got to rack up Oregon, the points.
Right? I think they
just have Oregon. Which, I mean, I guess that's a test in and of itself. But if I were them, I'd be looking to just crank up the points on these lower ranked opponents, I would say. You got anything?
Yeah.
You look like you're about to say something.
I do.
Go.
I have 3 things, and I'll go quick on these. But 1, Ohio State, I think, is on upset alert this week against Washington. That's a side point. 2,
you're not the first person who I've heard say that. That's a pretty popular one. Yeah.
I've been thinking about that for a while. This is actually our second take recording this, and I had a whole extra 24 hours to really torture myself. But that's unrelated.
I told them about our woes in the last game. Don't worry.
I'm not sure if I was dropping that.
Speaking before you go to your second point, because I'm going to interrupt you now, let's clap it up real quick. And not only is this our first face-to-face, face reveal game, but it's also our first virtual recording. So
we're not even in the same state. Right? I'm in Florida right now. We're not even
in the same state. We're on opposite corners of the country right now. God,
I just got if you can't tell, I just got off a plane. Some people who have also flown might recognize those biscuits.
Love those.
Anyway, my other 2 notes. 1, against Rutgers last week, Iowa did win 38-28 on the road, which was impressive, but they gave up 330 passing yards again, and the 330 passing yards came on 24 of 40 by the Rutgers quarterback, so not nearly as efficient as Mendoza is. And man, I did this yesterday, Tyler. I'm gonna call on you, but I got to do my completions prediction for Mendoza. I think
my hand up.
I think he gets 24 completions on Saturday. And yesterday I went into the details. I'm just not going to, if he does get 24 next week, I'll explain why I made that prediction.
Okay.
Tyler, did you do something for the class?
Yeah. I had something, Mr. Kevin. So we were talking about the last week's game. I just want to reiterate, it was cool to watch a special teams be responsible for a 13-point differential, potentially what could have been 20 points. That being said, that's kind of like Fugazi play. You know what I mean? That's not like you take away the special teams, that's a whole other opponent against Rutgers. Okay, look, Iowa's defense is good. Okay, I want to say that. They're ranked 11th in the country, both in opponent yards per rush and opponent yards per game at 2.3 and 252.3 respectively. The one thing I will say, the only hope Iowa has in this game is to limit Indiana's time of possession to keep the game at their own pace. They need to force Indiana to throw the ball as much as possible. And I know what you're thinking, but wait, we just gassed up Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza is accurate and he thinks well on his feet. But when you start to get into the numbers, yards per pass, it's not that high. They're ranked 19th in the country. So that is something they can exploit. And then you look at yards per game and passes per game, it gets even worse. So Mendoza's thriving in those short pass opportunities. You know what I mean? So if they take that away, they can keep the pace of their game. However, looking also back to Indiana's time of possession, they are ranked at number 2 in the country, having controlled the ball 63.16% of the game time that they've been on the field. And their current rush yards per game are 312.3. That's ranking them number 4 in the country. So it's going to be tough for Iowa to keep up with them. That's all I can say.
All right, let's get to our picks.
Let's get into
like we could talk about this game actually for another 10, 15 minutes.
Probably, but we're not going to do that.
But we're going to go. Look, I said I wasn't going to call the over-under, even though I think it's going to go over. But for now,
if we're
I'm not
expecting
even.
Indiana to do it again like they did last week, I could see it, but I'm not
I
going to bet
did
it
see
either.
you can get Indiana for 3.5, like an alt spread for like 190 minus 190. That I'd feel so much more comfortable than 7.5, just because of how
Right.
games at Iowa play out.
And I would also say this: if you're giving yourself 4 points with Indiana for minus 190, I would take it a step further and say I would parlay that with an alternate over to maybe get you back to even odds, so to speak. But
Smart.
if I was not making a straight pick and I wanted to get a little goblin mode with it, that's what I would do. Yeah, getting into mine, Iowa's not better than Illinois, Kev. That's even though the better in me is screaming to take Iowa with the points after what happened last week. I just cannot silence the analyst in me who saw a 50-point differential against another top 25 team, and Iowa just doesn't look good. So give me Indiana to go into Iowa City and handle the business. Also, before we move on, Kev, quick shout out to Iowa's home atmosphere. I think their third quarter intro, where they all do the wave, is one of the greatest things that college football has ever produced. So, all right, next game.
Next game.
All right, Kev, you want me to go into it with this one? Yeah, let's go into it with this
Go
one.
into it.
Yeah, Oregon at Penn State, a whiteout game. Oregon is somehow getting 3.5. I think that's just because of the home field advantage, being that they're going to be in Beaver Stadium on the whiteout, arguably one of the toughest environments to play in football.
I mean, certainly, I would say toughest special occasion, like toughest special occasion thing. Yeah, hands down.
Definitely. All right, and the over/under on the line is going to be 51.5. It is a night game. This is reeks of a game that I probably wouldn't have made it to back when I was in school. But you know, now I will say this is going to be an exciting game, Kev. This is just going to be fun to watch. I earlier on in the season was calling this potential game of the year, depending on how you look at it. Not in terms of my confidence for my pick by any means, but in terms of just watching it. But let's get into some facts, Kev. I'm going to kick it to you.
Okay, and this would be potentially my game of the year, but I would say this might be the game I've been least confident about that we're picking yet in week 5 now. I've gone back and forth a bunch of times. I'm going to one thing you mentioned, we were talking Big Ten schedules. So Oregon last year, I was looking at their schedule, and this does suck because I told myself after last week, I'm not going to look at last year's anything to judge what I think is going to happen this year. But it's just worth noting that Oregon had such a cupcake road schedule in the Big Ten. They played at UCLA, at Purdue, at Michigan, at Wisconsin. None of them were ranked. Michigan was having a down year. Like, this is going to be their first true road test in the Big Ten.
Yes, that's. Yeah. I think that's constant between both of these teams. Just throwing
but
it
Penn
in there.
State is, they've over the years they've played at Michigan. I'm saying like this is Oregon's welcome to the Big Ten game, and it's really two untested teams. I think what I'm seeing amongst the fan bases are Oregon's afraid that Penn State's just going to be able to run it down their throat, control the tempo of the game, and their offense isn't going to be able to break away with big plays like they've been able to do against teams without as high caliber athletes. I think Penn State's fan base, they're afraid that their offense has been stuttering against Nevada, against FIU early, and like they pulled away in the end. They're afraid that they're just going to shut down when they run into the Ducks. So not to give away my pick, but I am going over, and I just have one stat to back that up, and I'm going to kick it back to you, Tyler. But since the start of the 2021 season, Penn State's hosted 9 ranked teams, and only once did the total score eclipse 50. That was in 2022 when Ohio State won 44-31.
Ooh, I like that one. Kev, I got a lot.
Could you go for it, man?
Written on this game. Okay.
That was all of my notes. That's all I've did.
Okay. So I can monologue now?
Yeah, you take it the rest of the way.
Okay, wait a minute. Before we do that, Kev. Live update for you. Yeah. Final field goal attempt for the Seahawks to win against the Cardinals tonight. And our boy Kev has his first of 5 legs. All right. We're good. Okay. So let me get back into the zone here a little bit. Let me talk about Oregon first. So, while Oregon has been running up the points offensively against everybody they played, the one thing we have to note here, rush yards per game from their opponents. Oregon's ranked number 50 nationally, Kev. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, 129.7 rush yards per game against, mostly cakewalk opponents, depending on how you look at Oregon State and Oklahoma State. Yeah, they're Power 4, but they could probably beat Group of 5 at this point. And Kev, okay, I want to ask you a quick question. In the offseason, when you heard about Penn State, what was the biggest storyline?
I don't know. What was it? I'm
Okay.
drawing.
Yes, that's right. They're dynamic duo running backs.
Thunder and
Nicholas
Lightning. Thunder and Lightning. Yes,
Katron Allen. Okay. Everybody's talking about how they're so great, how Penn State's rushing game is going to eclipse them based on what their guys have done. Where have they been, Kev? Neither of these guys are on the top 50 rush yards out of the country. Okay. Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback for Tulane, is number 27.
You're gonna make me bring up that same counterpoint again, though. They're two running backs. They're splitting the yardage.
They're splitting the yardage, but I mean, come on, they're both supposed to be top 10 running backs in the country. I get it. Fine. Fair enough. I did also go back, and I should say, if we're looking at Penn State's, do I have rush yard per game on here? Yes, I do. Guess what they're ranked nationally, Kev?
What?
45.
Ooh. Yeah. All right. I will say Penn State's leading rusher has more than Oregon's leading rusher. That's all. I mean,
okay.
But
I didn't hear that. Yeah. Going into my second page of notes here, Kev. We do have to note Penn State coming off a bye. I kind of touched on it earlier, but Oregon does have a marginally better resume because they play teams that we know have college football programs.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the quarterbacks. All I heard this offseason, not all I heard about quarterbacks, because I heard mostly only about Arch Manning, and we saw how that went. But one of the other names I mostly heard about was Drew Aller. Okay.
Five-star.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, lining up their metrics between him and Dante Moore, the quarterback who has been on Oregon for 3 seasons, learned under Bo Nix and Jackson Dart, who's getting his first start this week. Praise up the Marr family. Okay, let's compare their stats back to back. All right. Drew Aller, 57 per 88 completions per attempts, 64.8%. Dante Moore, 71 completions per 95 attempts, 74.7%. Dante Moore is ahead. Yards per attempt, Drew Aller, 7.1. Dante Moore, 10.1. Point Dante Moore. Total yards in the games in the season. Drew Aller, 626 yards. Dante Moore, 962 yards. Point Dante Moore. I'm not going to go into more of these. I could for the rest of this show, Kev. What I'm trying to say is, so far, one of these QBs has clearly shown by numbers that he's better. Now, he hasn't been quite tested. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, to reiterate a point you made, I'll do a similar comparison. Oklahoma State, Nevada, who's better? Probably Oklahoma State.
In post, I want to edit the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Oklahoma State,
skip that
Nevada.
one. Yeah, because I'm just comparing opponents. Northwestern, FIU, who's better? Northwestern. Oregon State, Villanova. I thought Villanova just had basketball. So, I mean, you are right when you're talking about level of competition. It's not like Oregon's facing monsters, but
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to disrupt you. I just had to keep that comparison train rolling because you're about to make me change my pick, not to spoil it, but
Big Ten championship rematch. Let's remember how that went last year. Our Ducks won it. Quack, 45-37. Do they quack at the game? I feel like they should.
I think Aflac trademarked that.
Or
Nick Saban's
yeah,
got
save it and Dion are gonna both fuck.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I will note in that Big Ten championship game, the rush defense for Oregon was a problem. That's where we did actually see Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton show up. Okay, because they Katron Allen had 14 carries, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. Singleton 10 carries, 106 yards, and Drew Aller even got a slice of the pie with 54 yards and 1 touchdown. So look, the quarterback, I give to Dante Moore. I think Penn State needs to show up more than they have in a way that they haven't been. On to the picks. Kev, you ready?
Yep. And this is because Jim Knowles, the Penn State defensive coordinator, go ahead, click it. Penn State defensive coordinator in his first year was the Ohio State defensive coordinator last year. We saw what Ohio State did to Oregon in the Rose Bowl. They shut him down. I believe only allowed 3 plays of over 20 yards, and that was all in the second half. That could be wrong. I could have just read that somewhere. But that's what I'm going. And then the under for same reasons I said. Games usually don't break 50 inside Beaver Stadium.
Gotcha. No, I like that, Kev. Now, okay, Kev. Yes, we had 2 cupcake schedules here. Oregon has done better in terms of the schedule, and they have exceeded our expectations in terms of that point differential. I believe their pass defense is about to shut down Drew Aller, and hopefully Nick Singleton and Katron Allen wake up, because they're going to be the only factors that might even keep this game close. After this game, we're going to need to see Coach Benjamin Franklin up there with Keegan-Michael Key. Yes, I just said Benjamin Franklin, because they're going to need to distract the crowd, because his seat is going to be hot after going not 4-20 against ranked opponents, but 4-21 come Sunday. All right.
Dang.
Ready for the next game? Yes, I introduced AI this game. We're leveling up, people.
All right, let's get to the next game. And I will take it from here.
Yeah, all you, baby.
Alabama, Georgia. All right, Tyler. I uncovered one piece of beauty in my research for this game. I really did. The year is 2008. The month is September. And the day, you might ask for a second day in the row, the 22nd. In Nick Saban's soon-to-be triumphant return to college football, his number 16th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide are hosting the number 22 ranked Bulldogs. Georgia wins in overtime, handing Nick Saban his first loss at Bama. Tyler, do you care to guess what the score of this Georgia versus Alabama overtime game was? Don't.
Kev, I'm not going to lie to you. I forgot already.
Right, sweet. Wrong. We will get back to that, I promise. I must now ask you a rhetorical question, meaning don't answer. Is the sun setting on the Alabama dynasty? As Florida State breaches the top 10, we as a community may have to come together and admit our premature evaporation of Alabama's accolades were just that, premature. It's okay. It happens. We were excited. In addition to FSU self-healing the wound they inflicted on Alabama, the Crimson Tide have a roster littered with 5-star recruits, and they're coming off a dominant 38-14 win over Wisconsin. But Wisconsin just lost to Maryland. So how good is Maryland?
Goddamn day go by that we don't come out here with shit up our ass ready to go. It's time to fucking go. All I want to do is fucking eat. I want you to eat. I want you to eat.
These Bulldogs are frothing at the mouth to beat the Tide in Athens or just beat them at all. Everyone remembers Georgia breaking through in the 2022 season to beat Bama 33-18 for their first title since 1970. However, Georgia is 1-9 against Alabama since 2008, and they haven't beaten them at home in Athens since 2003. So I hope I still have your attention, because here is the beauty I talked about. In 2008, Georgia beats Alabama 26-23 in overtime, handing Nick Saban his first loss. 10 years later, on January 8th, 2018, Tua Tagovailoa drops back on a 2nd and 26, trailing Georgia by 3 in overtime, and delivers a 41-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith, your boy. Final score, overtime, 26-23, Crimson Tide. Chills.
Numbers
are beautiful.
2 things you asked. Hopefully I'm still paying attention. You knew I wasn't. And then 2, I'm pretty sure it's Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't know what you said, but yeah,
Tua Tagovailoa.
it does matter.
Tagovailoa.
Okay. Okay. I like everything you just said, Kev. I think after week 1 with that FSU loss, we have seen a really good developing Kalen DeBoer team. He's got that West Coast offense coming to town there in Tuscaloosa. No one can deny it with how Ty Simpson's throwing the ball. And I liked him back when he was at Boston College. So, I still like watching him now. That being said, looking at some of their stats, or not like this is contrary to what I just said or anything, but Bama has a lot of weapons that they're throwing to right now. That they have 6 receivers who have over 15 yards per completion, including most notably Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, who are holding 10 receptions per game. And Jeremy Bernard has 15, and no, not 10 receptions per game. Excuse me. That would be ridiculous. 10 over 4 games. Jeremy Bernard, I believe I'm saying that right, has
Jeremy?
15. Yeah. Journey?
I think it's like a redneck saying Jeremy.
Kev
now,
is from the
on
mountains of Virginia. He is allowed to say that. Okay, that is
one other thing I'll
term.
note. This boy knows numbers. Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, they account for 55% of Ty Simpson's passing yards and 55% of his touchdowns.
He's got those 2 favorite boys. Yeah.
I said this last night, and I really should have looked it up, but I do wonder how Georgia's number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks are. If they're locked down, that could handicap Alabama. You got something?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get back to my first page of notes after addressing that. So, Kev, no, I was watching the Georgia game and the Tennessee game, like just highlights earlier today. The one thing I did notice early on in the game, Georgia's secondaries adapt. Their defensive play calling is able to switch between man coverage and zone coverage when they know it's not working. At the first quarter of that Tennessee game, they were really going hard with the zone coverage, and they just didn't look good against Tennessee. I think you remember Tennessee got up early. They adapted quickly and had that double man coverage when they needed to, and they were really tracking the quarterback's eye movement. They even got 2 interceptions on Joey Aguilar in that game. So, that's one thing to know. Okay. I flipped to the wrong page. Excuse me, Kev.
No problem.
We talk about West Coast offense in Alabama. We also got to give props to not West Coast offense, but I'm going to dub this the Midwest offense because there are a lot of players on Georgia who make a lot of receptions, just don't have a lot of yards per reception. So, they make like a lot of those like short run pass option type plays. Some of those players include, we've heard the name like Zach Branch. He looked great against Tennessee, I got to say. Then you got Colby Young, London Humphreys, and even their tight end, Ellis Williams. I think I pronounced that right.
I mean, this is really why they call Georgia the Hoosiers of the South.
Because of the names? Or-
No, because they do short passes. That's what you're saying about Indiana, correct?
That is what I'm saying. You're absolutely
I've been
right.
paying attention.
Kev, there's like a monkey with cymbals playing in my head every time you talk. I'm sorry, man. Now, okay, Kev, what this really comes down to for me, West Coast offense, right? He's going to be slinging that ball a lot. Do you think Ty Simpson is aggressively better or worse than Joey Aguilar?
It's
now
tough to
ponder
tell.
that as I go to your pick.
Okay. And I am going Alabama. And it's going to be tough because I'm going to be rooting for Alabama in this. I don't know how they get me to cheer for them as an underdog, but I was doing the same thing in that 2018 championship when Jalen Hurts got hurt. Tua comes in. That was the year before, actually. Then it was the SEC championship the year after. Tua gets hurt. Jalen, after sitting on the bench all year, comes back in, leads them to a victory. I was sitting on the couch with my roommate Ryan, and we were both rooting for Alabama, trying to figure out why. Yeah, anyhow. Anyway.
Okay.
What do you got,
So,
Tyler?
all right, Kev, with this matchup, I'm always reminded of what my guy Pat McAfee did a couple of years back.
What's that coming down the track? It's the mean machine in the red and black. Ain't nothing finer in the land. drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan. Go Dogs. Go Dogs. Sit down.
Wow.
Give me Alabama to break.
No, we're actually taking Georgia. Let's go Bulldogs.
Whoa.
Yeah, I switched it up on you
switched
last
it on
minute.
me, but you forgot to change the coloring. So who did you actually pick?
The
All right.
colors are the same. Okay, I'm not gonna live edit that one. No,
All right.
Kev, look,
Dang, I feel
think,
that. If I
it's
had
gonna be
possession
just
of
a
the
field
master
goal.
slide, I would have done the same.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Look, it's just gonna be a field goal at home in Athens. This is gonna be an electric atmosphere. It always is. Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. Just electricity in the air. SEC, like this Kirby Smart versus Kalen DeBoer. I'm so excited.
I like this. For the 3:30 games, we're on the same page. Then for the 7:30 games, we're picking opposite of each other. That keeps it interesting. I'd love to get both the 3:30 games right. So then, we're sitting back like, hey, we're at least going to go, someone's going to go 3-1,
That's
or
right.
maybe
Yeah.
4-0. Hey, I like
One
that.
of us can be a winner this week, Kev. One of
Or
us can be a winner.
if we miss both of the first games, then we'll be like, all right, well, we can't miss these next ones. So let's go.
And Kev also,
You should have done Georgia money line,
to,
man. You should have done Georgia money line, so we could have both been right. But anyhow,
nah.
right.
But no, Kev. Part of my point was last night when I realized that all my picks are the same as what ChatGPT was throwing out. I was spending today, and I was like, I gotta change one of these. I don't care how we do it, but
It's actually I'll use this time to interrupt because Tyler's lying there. I think what actually made him change his picks is in last night's take, I brought up, and I was planning to do this later, but I brought up how my wife actually spanked us in her picks last week. She went 4 for 4
metaphorically.
Yeah,
metaphorically.
4-1.
Well,
all right. She went 4-1 anyway. Here were her picks this week for these 4 games. She just does money line. She doesn't mess around with spreads. She's got LSU winning. She's got Indiana winning. She's got Penn State winning. And she has Georgia winning. I think she made Tyler turn toe.
One, she absolutely made me turn tail. She is the Oracle.
The Oracle of Delphi.
Men, as we both know. And 2, if Carly goes 4-0, she needs to make an appearance next week.
Yes.
Okay. Kev, let's get into some quick wrap up here. Look,
right.
I at this point the confidence levels are what they are. There's so many more games also that we didn't get to talk about, like in depth, like Ohio State, Washington. You got USC, Illinois.
USC, Illinois could be. Yeah. You got Virginia Tech, NC State, baby.
Okay.
But
yeah,
you are right.
so
you are right.
It's going to be a fun Saturday. All right. Yeah. Vibe check?
Vibe check.
All right.
In case you all hadn't had enough of us, we have, for me, I got 3 humble picks here. I got Notre Dame, money line on the road against Arkansas. Notre Dame's still ranked number 22. Arkansas, I believe, just lost to Memphis. Let's just, I think we've been high on Freeman. We're a little mid on him, but give it to him. Tulane, I think against Tulsa, and actually we got that in the wrong place. I believe Tulsa's the underdog. So let Tulsa cover the spread, this alt spread.
Oh, no, Tulsa's 100% the underdog in that matchup. Yeah. Okay.
So they're like a 14-point underdog. I think they can cover. And then Iowa State, still undefeated, number 14. Very last pick, Dominic Reyes at UFC Australia. Him beating Carlos Ulberg, it'd be an upset. Maybe don't add that to your parlay. I just wanted to give him a shout out. Tyler,
fair enough, man. I like that. Yeah, first, I don't need to explain it too much. Georgia Tech, I like the team. I think Wake Forest is going to be a cakewalk. That's not really a school that's known for their athletics. Let's be honest here. And yeah, I think they'll be able to cover probably a two touchdown game. So, but give me 9.5 to make the odds more appealing. Auburn 20.5 team total alternate,
I think after last week, they got a chip on their shoulder after that nonsense that they got play calling wise. So they're going to come out hot and they're going to want to just shoot first and ask questions later. Tulane at Tulsa, I think it's just gearing up to be a group of 4 like slinging match. Especially with Tulane wants to come back into the top 25 contention after they got a little bit stomped on last week. So yeah, give me that. That total with just my college football picks, which I actually know something about, brings it to plus 265. Now I also know about this next one. Ryder Cup, USA to be a winner, because USA. Although I did find out today on a podcast, Kev, that apparently the American players do not care about this at all. So that kind of has me scared. But it's
Are
already
you
on the
watching
slide.
golf
So
podcast when we're supposed to be studying?
it was
up?
part in my take. I think they dedicated like 2 minutes to it or something.
My
like that.
research solely consists of watching old Around the Horn clips. That's pretty much all I do to bring you guys this hard hitting.
There's
data.
other shows. There's other shows. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This whole podcast is us trying to become the new host of that show. So
exactly, or one of us, if anybody's listening. No, what was that? Okay, but no, if you're still here, which I really appreciate it. We do put a lot of work into these guys. We're looking for it's going to be available on Friday. We're going to try to get in an episode this weekend, which will be a lot easier now that we have this virtual setup, guys. This weekend's episode is not going to be so much of a recap. Maybe we'll talk if anything crazy happens, but we're going to actually get into a Heisman contender discussion, just free open. And then next week, you guys get a little treat because Mr. Kevin here is going out of town. We're going to be recording on Tuesday, so we'll try to get it out Wednesday bright and early for you guys to get as much time as you can. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
All right.
Signing off.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
See ya.
Or good morning.